In example 2, we're going to give you single angles and have you come up with multiple names for those angles, okay? So let's start off with this first triangle up here on the left. Number 1 here. Well, what are 3 names I could give this? Well, we could start out with, let me go here, we could start out by calling it angle. Since there's only one angle here and no confusion, I could just call this angle Q. Would be the easiest way. I can just name it by its vertex. Now, if I want to use a 3-point name for it, I could go, since these are the sides, I could start with a point on this side, P, so angle P, followed by the vertex Q, which has to be in the middle, and then R, which is on the other side. Or I could reverse that order. I could start with this side and call it angle RQP. Even though they are different names, they're different names for the same angle. They do not, they're all this angle right here. The angle that goes from this side to that side. And that's it. Now the second one, you notice it's labeled with a little 1 inside. That's to make it easier for us when there are multiple angles. Now there aren't multiple angles here, but because that 1 is there, I could simply call this angle 1. So I can call that angle 1. I can simply use the vertex because it's the only angle here, so I could call this angle Y. And then again, I can use a 3-point name such as XYZ or ZYX. So either one of those. We didn't have to give 4 names, only 3, so we'll just give one of them. So angle XYZ. This last one, let me move the old guy out of the upper right-hand corner here for a sec. See if you can pause the tape and write down 3 names for this one and then come back. All right, did you name 3? Let's see what you got. Well, we have a label with a 2, so I could call it angle 2. The angle has a vertex of E, and there are no other angle E's that could be confused with it. So let's call it angle E. Third, 3 letters. So I could start with F, E, D. Remember, the vertex must be in the middle. Notice one more thing about every name I gave on this entire page. Notice I start with angle before it. Okay, always angle 1, angle Y. Make that little symbol. Or write the word angle, but that takes a little bit more time. Below that, you see the protractor postulate, which we used earlier in the exploration. And let me just read through that real quickly. It says, consider line OB. So everybody can see a line OB would continue from O through B, even though it isn't drawn. It would continue this way. And a point A on one side of OB. Of line OB. That's not really happening here. Point A is on a whole different one. Anyway, the rays of the form OA can be matched 1-to-1 with the real numbers from 0 to 180. So this ray, OA, I can match with one real number from 0 to 180. Now it depends. If we use the inside, it would be matched up with 140. If I use the outside numbers, I would line it up with 40 degrees. So the measure of angle AOB, which can be written as measure angle AOB, so that little m in front means measure of angle AOB. Get used to that. You'll see that quite a bit. It's easier than writing out the whole word measure. Is equal to the absolute value of the difference between the real numbers matched with OA and OB on the protractor. So if you look at this, OB could point at 0 if you're using the inside numbers, or 180 if you're using the outside. OA could be matched up with 140 if you're using the inside, or just 40 if you're using the outside. So to find out how big this angle is, what they're saying is we could go 140 minus 0, which would give us 140 degrees, or I could go 40 minus 180. Now that would be negative 140, but that's why they said take the absolute value, right? So the absolute value would also be 140. So you usually take the larger one minus the smaller. 180 minus 40 also gives you 140 degrees. So that's the protractor postulate. So we'll use that going forward, just as we used it earlier in our exploration.